Hello, welcome back to my office. Today we are talking about something that is, I think, super important to gardening, and that is garden journaling. This is the way that I do my garden journal. This year I actually changed it up a little bit and added some more things to it and changed where it lives. So I'm going to show you my garden journal and tell you kind of how I use it, why I use it, like the way I use it, and just some like quick things to kind of get you inspired to do garden journaling, because I think it's super important and I think it is super helpful this time of year in the winter time when we're thinking about our next garden. Going back and looking at what we thought about last year's garden is always going to be helpful. This is my garden journal. Now, I do my garden journal in Google Sheets. Last year, I actually started my garden journal in Numbers, which is like the Mac version of Excel. And I did really like that, but it was on my laptop. It was stored on my laptop. Now, I have an iPhone and I have a Mac, so I can actually use Numbers on my phone and have things stored in iCloud, but I don't usually, I don't do that. I do use Google Drive though quite a bit, and so I was making my garden journal for this year and I thought I'm just gonna move it to Google Drive. That makes so much sense. So I just have my garden journal here, and then I have a sheet for each year. So here's the one from last year, and I basically just copy and pasted this from Numbers. So it looks exactly like it did when it was in Numbers. This is how I did it last year. I'm not gonna do it like this again this year. There's just a few things I changed and added. I color coded my plants over here for the seasons. So the ones in yellow are the ones I did for the summer, and the ones I did for the fall are in orange. Now, I'm probably not gonna do that like that this year. I may, but the only way I sorted anything in last year's journal was by the season. This year I'm going to do things a little differently. So this year I have things sorted by plant. I have things sorted by the type of plant they are, and then the varieties are alphabetized underneath the headers. So the first header I have is beans, and then underneath that I have all my types of beans I'm growing, and they're in alphabetical order. All the way down through other, which has my strawberries in it. Let's talk about Google Drive really quick. I have been using Google Drive for quite a while. The nonprofit I run does Google Mail, and I use Google Drive a lot to keep track of our race registrations. We do a 5K and 10K every year. And that's how I keep track of race registrations. It's how I keep track of t-shirt orders and volunteers and all of that. I love Google Drive because I can get it on my phone as well as on my laptop. I can log into it anywhere I have internet. If I need to get it on a desktop and I'm at somewhere else, I can use the desktop to get to my sheets, or I can use the app on my phone. So I have all of this stuff stored in my personal Gmail Google Drive. Now, if you have a Gmail account, like a free Gmail account, you went to Gmail, you signed up, you made an email account, you get 15 gigs of storage in your Google Drive for free. I have this sheet set up to have each year be its own sheet. I have one file called Garden Journal. Each year has a sheet. So I won't have Garden Journal 2019, Garden Journal 2020 sitting around in my Google Drive. It's in one file. If you have an iPhone or an Android, you can download the Google Sheets app, and you can actually view and edit your sheets on your phone. If you are doing it on your phone, this may not be the best way to do your garden journal, but I will say that if you have a computer and you are comfortable with a spreadsheet, this may be a good way to try garden journaling if you haven't done it before. The headers I have across the top here, I added some more for 2020 just to kind of take some guesswork out of things for next year. I remember starting my seeds last year, but I can't remember when it was. So I decided to add these two columns here, date sown and date transplanted. Date sown is when I put the seed in the dirt. So for these things like beans, these things go directly in the ground. So these are not going to be transplanted. So these will not, this I can actually go ahead and make a null. These will not be transplanted. They will be sown. So things like, let's see, my dill, my basil, my cilantro, that stuff I will sow in the house. So whatever date I sow that, whatever date I put that in dirt, I will put in here. The date I put it out in the garden, I will put on the date transplanted. The next column is where is it? And this I added only because I'm going to be doing a few things in grow bags and a few things in pots and a few things in like, I don't know, I have a mini bell tomato down here that I may actually put in a pot on my front porch. So in that one, I will put pot front porch if that's where it ends up. These squash will all be in grow bags. So in where is it, I'm going to put grow bag. I may end up with a pepper in a grow bag, so I'll put grow bag if I put one pepper in a grow bag. Basically, that's all I mean by where is it. Is it somewhere that's not in the garden, in the ground itself? The lettuces will pretty much all be in the lettuce tower. The kale will be in the ground for a little while, but everything else will be in the lettuce tower, so that will pretty much all say lettuce tower. The next column is, did it produce? And this is pretty much a yes or no question. If we go back to 2019, the rest of the stuff is the same as last year. I added these 3 columns for this year, but for last year, everything else over is the same. So let's go back to 2019 and look. So the did it produce column is pretty much a yes or no. You know, some things are a yes and some things are a no. My strawberries are a no. These peppers, I said yes finally. You know, yes, but only some were pole variety. That kind of thing. That way I know if something straight up did not produce at all, I know maybe I won't plant that again next year. I know that these peppers, I'm not planting those this year, so I'm hoping that I'll get some peppers, like a bigger harvest. The next column is how much did it produce? So this is kind of an open-ended question. Some of these things you'll see like a lot kept growing after harvesting, a lot kept blah, blah, blah. You know, some things say the same thing. Lots of fruit struggled with blossom end rot, BER, blossom end rot. That's just basically how much did it produce, not in terms of weight or volume or number of fruits or whatever. It's basically, did it produce? The next column is replant, question mark. This is the column where I decided if I'm going to plant something again. It's basically a yes or no. Again, potentially yes, no, potentially yes, potentially. The next column is taste, texture, etc. This is where I went in and kind of gave everything a flavor profile. Some things I didn't, like these onions. But I did come through and I put, like, you know, perfect for pickles, very nice bite, citrusy flavor, very sweet, very tomatoey, best tomato in the garden, Chianti Rose. It's just so I don't forget what things tasted like, that kind of thing. The next one is source, and actually in 2020 I moved source over to the column next to the name of the plant. This is just so I can easily come in and see where I got the plant or the seed to grow that plant. Most of my stuff is Baker Creek or in my gardener. There are a few Rural King things thrown in here, and there are a few things that Katie and I are trading. So you'll see her name in here a few times. The next column is other notes. So this is basically just a miscellaneous column. If I have anything else I decided I wanted to put in here, this is where I put it. Like these onions. These yellow onions grew the biggest bulbs of all the varieties I grew. I grew yellow onions, white onions, and red onions. The yellow got the biggest. So I put in other notes, these grew the biggest. Let's see. The San Marzano, I said still producing tomatoes as of 9/17. it was. That's a good note. They're a long producer. Right above that, the Purple Russian, I just said I hate it. If you watched any of my garden tour videos from the end of last summer, you will see my struggle with this plant and my hatred towards it. So this is how I am doing my garden journaling. Now, I will say that sometimes I have every intention to come in and fill in my garden journal, and I don't do it. And I will be at my laptop one day and I'll think, oh, I should fill in my garden journal. And I'll go in and I'll fill in a lot of the journal at once. Now, I think that's fine. It's up to you. If you are the type of person that needs to fill things out as you do them, then maybe this isn't the best solution, or maybe it is and you have the sheet open on your phone and you're filling things out as you're doing them. If you are the type of person that says, well, I wish I had a garden journal, but I just don't ever stick to it, I feel that. I have never really been a journaler in my whole life. So this is not like today I watered the tomatoes and picked weeds for 2.5 hours. This is not a journal like that. This is a data collection place. This is something that I do to help myself the next fall and the next winter going into next spring. So I hope this helps you. I hope this gives you some type of, gets the gears turning up there about doing a garden journal if you don't do a garden journal. If you have a Gmail, use your Google Drive, use your Google Sheets. They're so easy. They're one of my favorite things right now for gardening. It's so nice to be able to just kind of see everything in a spreadsheet, and I'm not a spreadsheet person at all. If you have a garden journal, let me know. I would love to hear how you do it. If you don't and you have questions, let me know. I would be happy to help. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.